Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 194 of the Run in the Paint podcast. I'm Miles here with Ben and Joey. Guys, how are you doing today?
Feeling good, feeling great. The play-in has been something else, so I'm excited to talk about it and preview the playoffs that's coming up this weekend, too.
That's right, Ben. This has been an incredible week so far for us, NBA fans here. How have you been holding up?
I've been holding up great. I can't complain by some great postseason basketball. It's that great time of the year. Let's go.
That's right. Well, let's get into it. We have a lot to get into. We're going to recap all the playing games for those of you guys that end up not tuning into the Run in the Paint recap videos that we've been posting. Make sure to tune into those because those are always fun to get the live reactions right after the game. And, of course, we are going to go in-depth, preview, and predict 6 of the 8 first-round series, all the ones that we know about so far. Of course, still a couple to be determined with tonight's playing games. But to start off, as always, we've got POELTL. And today, thought it would be fitting for our first player guest to be Jaylen Brown, a player that could potentially be snubbed by a headline that we got in the NBA world here today. So let's get started. Jaylen Brown. Okay, great start. Western Conference, big guy that's younger than 27.
Maybe because I just watched him, I'm immediately thinking like Donovan Clingan.
Ooh, that's not bad. You know, it does say it is highlighted yellow for the forward, so it's probably a forward.
Yeah.
That's not bad, though. Forward center, maybe. I mean, this could be so many different players. Why don't we go with, let's see, someone in the double digits, center, power forward. We could go with like a, no, I was going to say like Tari Eason, but he's not 6'9".
No, he's like 6'8".
Let's see, Ben, you have any players that come into mind? I mean, there's a lot of different ones. We could try to just narrow down division right now. Who'd you say, Ben?
Can't think of too much yet.
Yeah, why am I blanking right now? There should be so many different players.
Yeah.
Okay, why don't we go with let's see. Let's go with Jake LaRavia.
Great pick.
I don't know. Well, we could see where that gets us. Jake LaRavia. All right. 6'8", 6'9" forward in the Western Conference. That's even younger than like 22. So this is definitely a young spring chicken in the West. Could this be Ace Bailey?
Ace Bailey's not a bad guess. Different division.
Just these young guys. Number 19.
19. Okay. Yeah.
Want to try Ace Bailey? We could go for it.
Yeah, let's try it.
We'll see where that gets us. Ace Bailey. Oh, we got it.
Oh, my goodness.
There we go. That's what I'm talking about. We're in playoff form already, just in time for the playoffs. Before we get into the postseason talk, we'll mention the Jaylen Brown thing. Let's get into that real quick here. It getting announced on Thursday that Cade Cunningham and LUKA Doncic, who appealed to the NBA because of the 65-game participation rule for all NBA and for different awards and stuff, they both got approved by the NBA, so they are both going to be allowed to be voted for on the MVP ballots, the All-NBA first team, really the notable ones for those two guys. Ben, what was your reaction to hearing this for Cade and LUKA?
Yeah, I was happy to hear about this. Got me excited knowing that, even though, it's just short, the games, unfortunately, I think they got on, still was a good thing, and it was definitely deserving from them since those guys have been two of the better players, guards in the league this year. Cade It's been special. Detroit leading them to the 1 seed this year, which is really impressive. And Luka, just having crazy numbers this year and just going off and games, just going crazy in games. It's great to see him on the things. So overall, I think they had good appealing cases. I was thinking the NBA could possibly give it to Luka, but I wasn't totally thinking Cade Cunningham. But definitely happy they both got on.
Yeah, Joey. I mean, when we did our awards show about a week ago already, we didn't have Cade Cunningham on the ballots because we didn't think that he would, get appealed by the league. We didn't think he'd be back for those final couple games that he played there for Detroit. But in the end, both of those guys get appealed, and another guy, Anthony Edwards, did not make it, although he did play a few less games than those guys.
Yeah, my thoughts are exactly like Ben. I'm happy Cade and Luka got it. I was really just expecting Luka, but like you said, credit all due to Cade Cunningham because he tried to get back out there. Like he worked his butt off to recover from that collapsed lung quickly, and so he could come back and play. And he looks pretty decent. Get him back and warmed up, ready in time for the playoffs. But the fact that I think went into his appeal case was probably that he tried to and he came back at least before the playoffs started. So I for sure thought he was down and out until the playoffs started.
Yeah, I agree. So now it'll be interesting to see who ends up getting that final spot on the All NBA first team. That's what we debated it a little bit on the podcast. Again, we did not put Cade on the ballot, so there wasn't much debate when we did this. Jaylen Brown being that guy with Luka, Shea, Jokic, and Wemby. We kind of talked about a little bit on the awards podcast, but now that it is official that Cade Cunningham is going to be available here, I'm going to ask it again. Do you guys think that he will end up making All NBA first team with the season that he had for Detroit, leading them to their, to a 60-win season in a year they weren't expected to, their first top spot since 2007?
Yeah, I think you got to give it to Cade. I certainly would. I know in our group chat, NBA group chat that we all talk about, it was highly debated on who would get that spot. But in my opinion, as great as Jaylen Brown had a fantastic season. You're the Celtics. You have this system in place. It kind of works even with all the changing pieces and people out. So I guess when you're looking at it and if you're basing it purely on winning and how valuable you are, even though it's just not the MVP award, I would still probably give it to Cade just because he did so. Who thought the Pistons would ever even get close to 60 wins? I know Ben had a higher in the standings than all of us did, but even you couldn't have predicted 60 wins, right, Ben?
No, I thought they were going to be great and impressive, but I didn't think they'd be 60 win good. I thought 50 something, a little lower than that.
Where in the standings did you have them, Ben, going into the season? I'm going back to check right now. Do you remember?
Behind
yes, the 3 seed.
The Cavs.
Yeah, so definitely an incredible season. But Ben, what do you think? Would you agree with Joey, or would you keep Jaylen Brown in your first team?
I think I would agree with Joey as of right now because I'm just looking at Cade's stats, and his stats are overall impressive, really good. He averaged just about 10 assists per game this year, 5.5 rebounds. Not the highest with the points, 23.9, but he just really cared about winning and was great getting his teammates involved. And still, it's a big scoring games, anyways. And just Cade turned into one of the best guards in the league. He's right there behind Luka Shea is a top point guard in the league for me now, so I would give the nod to him.
Yeah, it's definitely tough. I think if I had a vote, what I would do is I think I would still keep Jaylen Brown on All NBA first team, but as far as on the MVP voting ballot, I would put Cade higher than Jaylen Brown, because I think that those are two kind of separate things. I feel like, and everyone has their own interpretation of the award, but to me, MVP is kind of like what you do in relation to your team's success, and that's who should be deserving of the award. All NBA, I think, is just based off of your individual season, who was the best. So it's kind of a cop-out answer because I kind of go both. But I think that's how I would do it. Specifically for All NBA first time, I think Jaylen Brown still deserves it because he did end up playing in more games, and the season he had was unbelievable, with Jason Tatum out for a large part of the season. Even though Cade Cunningham, great as well. But now let's talk about the play-in tournament. Of course, you can hear our full thoughts on the recaps from the last couple of days here. Three of us were on Wednesday morning talking about the Hornets, Heat, and Blazers, Suns. And yesterday I went on solo talking about those other two crazy games. Let's quickly talk about an update with that Heat-Hornets game. Of course, that was an incredible way to start off the play-in tournament with the Hornets getting the overtime win in a wild roller coaster. But the thing to watch for after the game was what was the league going to do in regards to LaMelo Ball and the controversial play with him essentially injuring Bam Adebayo. That's pretty much what happened there. Bam landing on his tailbone, had to miss, the rest of the game, and ends up playing limited minutes for his team, and they end up, losing the game. Ends up coming out that he is fined a combined $60,000, given a flagrant 2 for the play, which, if that was called in the game, would have meant that he would have been thrown out of the game. And then also for cursing post-game, which is, routine for LaMelo Ball at this point. Joey, what were your thoughts on this ruling by the NBA to give LaMelo Ball the flagrant 2?
It's the right thing to do. They did the right thing, I would say. $60K is nothing to LaMelo Ball, let's be real. So, that is just whatever. But the flagrant 2 is huge, because if they do end up making the playoffs, I wonder if it's going to count for, however that is, because if you get a certain amount of flagrants and techs over in the playoffs, you get suspended, just like it is in the regular season. So I wonder if that's going to count for that as well. And if it does, then that is huge and extremely just detrimental to the Hornets, who have been fantastic. And LaMelo almost sold it. I know we talked in the recap, or at least I did, how at the end of the game he almost sold it, and then he redeemed himself. But now here he is, possibly holding his team back again in the future if they do make the playoffs.
So I just looked it up because I was curious myself, because I think no one really knows, do the flagrant foul points and technical foul points count towards the playoffs? And from my quick research, apparently they do not count, which is very important because in the playoffs, if you get, I believe it's either 4 or 3 flagrant foul points or 6 technical fouls or something, you're automatically suspended again. I'll try to find the official numbers on those, but it would appear that the play-in stuff does not count. So apparently you get a free pass.
That's kind of ridiculous, to be honest. But whatever. It's kind of a shame they didn't catch LaMelo in the act in the beginning, because that was extremely uncalled for.
Yeah, so in the playoffs, it's 7 technical fouls for a suspension and 4 flagrant foul points. Okay. So that's the ruling for the playoffs, so something important to note for that one. Ben, what were your thoughts on the ruling for LaMelo?
I would pretty much agree with what Joey said, and yeah, he's lucky that doesn't count for the postseason, or else it would have been 2 out of 4, which, yeah, it's kind of silly that it's a free pass for playing, but whatever. At least LaMelo's lucky with that, and well, we'll get to see, if he has any more crazy X's or anything, which, well, the Hornets do have beef with the Pistons, and if they play them in round 1, I'll be keeping my eye on seeing if any more of those happen with just him or anyone else on the Hornets.
Absolutely. Let's keep it rolling on here with the other playing games. The second game of Tuesday night was Portland coming back to defeat Phoenix 114-110 after Denny Avdia's incredible performance, 41 points, 12 assists, 7 rebounds to lead the way for the Blazers to get into the playoffs. We'll preview their series with the Spurs coming up in a little bit. Again, if you want to hear our thoughts on that game, you can go back to the recap that we posted on Wednesday. But the two games on Wednesday, it was only me on the podcast. We were not able to hear Joey and Ben's thoughts. And, of course, poor Nick is going through the grind of coaching here right now. So unable to hear his thoughts right now. But, my goodness, guys, we were treated to two more incredible playing games. Starting off with the Warriors-Clippers game, the 9-10 game in the Western Conference, a game where, Joey, no one really gave the Warriors much of a chance going into that game, especially on this podcast. But, my goodness, they do it again. They still find a way to get the job done.
I honestly can't believe it. Like, I am shocked. Utterly and utterly shocked. What an incredible game. But I'll toot our own horn. We were all correct. When we were talking about Golden State and the keys to that game, I can't remember who said it, but someone said, it might have been me. I'm like, if they want any chance, Steph Curry's got to go Steph Curry mode and go absolutely crazy. And he went absolutely clutch mode. It looked like I was watching the Olympics again. Like the way he just like threw it up and everything just kept going in at the end of the game. It was fantastic. And then I don't remember, it was either Miles or Ben. One of you guys said that one of the X factors is Draymond Green, and what an X factor he was in that game. Hall of Fame defense, locking up Kawhi, making crucial plays. Like, we were right on the money. The only way Golden State wins is if those two guys carried them, and they got help from Guy Santos and Porzingis, but the main two guys, the way I watched, was Stephen Curry and Draymond Green, and they completely just led that team.
No question, Ben. Steph leading the way with 35.7 threes. Draymond holding Kawhi, who's had an incredible year. We talked about it all season long. Basically useless in the second half and the fourth quarter. But some of those other guys were great as well. I mean, Joey mentioned Guy Santos and Kristaps Porzingis, each with 20. Those guys were great. But, Ben, I don't know how many people would have Al Horford making 4 straight threes to lead the comeback on their bingo card. We got to talk about Big Al, who still gets it done in the playoffs. Or in the postseason. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, Al Horford is a good, experienced veteran. He definitely knows how to win in the playoffs or any big game. And it was quite impressive how he delivered. I couldn't believe he was making all those threes in a row while I was watching that game. I was going crazy seeing that happen, but was like, hey, great for Al Horford. He really needed that. And I think it's helpful for the Warriors to have another well-experienced veteran, Al Horford, there, along with Steph and Draymond, who, of course, are great veterans, have done a lot of winning, too, for a long time. And, they're played, really showed, great experience from the two of them on two separate ends of the ball. So
yeah, I mean, again, going in, we didn't give the Warriors much chance, but it's because, it felt like in this game, because the Clippers played a very good game. The first few minutes into the fourth quarter, they're up by 13 points before Steph comes back in. But if the Warriors are going to get this many solid performances from these other players, along with Steph going for 35 points, I mean, they're going to most likely win the game, especially, Joey, the way I kind of phrased it yesterday on the recap, where the Warriors were able to get 2, I'd say, superstar performances on each end of the floor. You look at Steph Curry's offense and Draymond Green's defense. And the Clippers, while they had a lot of players that had good games, they couldn't get anyone to have that great game.
Yeah, exactly. If they wanted to go toe to toe with this Warriors, it would have had to been Garland and Kawhi leading that way and having those superstar, all-star kind of performances to maybe not necessarily match them, but at least compete, like stats-wise and box score. But when Draymond's playing lockdown defense and completely shuts down the superstar, the best player on that team, you're not going to have much of a chance, especially when all the momentum is going with Golden State in that fourth quarter.
Yeah, and the crowd in the Intuit Dome is chanting Warriors. Like, it's crazy. Like, you wonder how disheartening that's got to be for the Clippers and Steve Ballmer that just spent all the time and money to make the Intuit Dome have the whole wall section, and in a playing game versus the Warriors, like, it felt like the whole fourth quarter the Clipper fans were just being drowned out by the Warrior fans that made the trip to LA.
Steve Ballmer had to be furious.
Yeah, for sure. And now the Clippers, have an interesting offseason coming up. Again, talked about it on the recap yesterday. The big things to watch for them, of course. Does Kawhi Leonard want to be a part of this Clippers team? Like, he's going to still want to be on a contending team. Is this Clippers team going to be going in that direction after they went a bit younger at the trade deadline? We'll see. And then, of course, the draft lottery where their first-round pick is in Oklahoma City's hands. But the Clippers do have a little bit of saving grace from the trade they made with the Pacers to get Mathurin and trading Zubats away, where if the pick is 5 through 9, it goes to the Clippers. If it's top 4, it stays with Indiana. So the draft lottery and Kawhi's interest in staying with the Clippers are the big things to watch for them.
Oh, yeah.
The final playing game to go over here, the Magic Sixers game, and the Sixers got the win 109-97, a game where they just ended up making the plays down the stretch in the fourth quarter. It was very physical, old school postseason game with a whole lot of scuffles, Ben, a whole lot of, craziness going on there. But at the end of the day, the Sixers were just able to get more out of their guys than the Magic were.
Yeah, I agree, Miles. I got to watch that game too, and yeah, it was just a physical battle. It was like a dogfight in that game. But the 76ers found a way. They were just even better team offensively. Maxey had a great game in it. 31 points. Just doing a great job at leading the way for the Sixers. And then Andre Drummond had a nice game off the bench.
The dagger 3, dude. A dagger 3-pointer by Andre Drummond in 2026.
He had 2 threes from him in that game in 2026. How about Andre Drummond? And then he had 3 blocks, 3 steals straight on the defensive end, too. And overall, Maxey, along with Desmond Bane, who had a great performance for the Magic. Both of them were great, of course, but it was just what I think made a big difference was other guys outside of Maxey doing better than the 76ers than other guys outside of Bane for the Orlando Magic.
Yeah, Joey, any thoughts to add on this one?
Yeah, known three-point shooter, Andre Drummond, man. We saw it firsthand this year when it looked like a three-point shooting contest between Thomas Bryant and Andre Drummond, the game we went to in Cleveland.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, no, kind of what I expected. Orlando played a tough game for most of this game, but like you said, when it came down to the stretch and Desmond Bane is getting tired by carrying the offensive load of the Orlando Magic team the entire way, yeah, they're going to run out, and Sixers just have too many guys. I am kind of sad that I woke up today and Jamal Mosley still has a job. I know they have one more play-in game, but like, I know it's like earlier in the year how excited you were for like Willie Green getting fired. That's how I feel about Jamal Mosley. I'm like, this man has helped this team, but completely just flipped it upside down, and now it's just chaos. So I can't wait till he's gone.
Yeah, and I know it's something I was like at the beginning of the season. If we're patting ourselves on the back here, I remember at the beginning of the season that was the coach. I'm like, let's be prepared for this to happen by the end of the season, and look where we are right now. And it's just tough. I mean, again, they played a good, tough physical game to stay in this one, but besides Desmond Bain, it just felt like no one else wanted to come along for the ride here. Like another stinker game from Paulo Banchero. Franz Wagner, still coming back from injury, but pretty silent in this game. Jalen Suggs and Wendell Carter combined to shoot 2 for 16 from the field. Like, just awfulness. And then the Sixers are able to get a positive performance from basically everyone who played. So that, the Sixers were just the better team in this game, and they advanced to take on Boston in the first round of the playoffs. But there are still, playing games tonight, and the Magic do still have one more chance to get into the playoffs in that final seed, as they will host the Charlotte Hornets tonight, 7:30 on Prime. The winner gets the 8th seed to take on the Detroit Pistons in round 1. The loser is eliminated, and they are headed to Cancun. Ben, Hornets Magic, what are you going to be watching for in this game between really, it's kind of an interesting matchup here because the Magic are the higher seed in the 8-9 matchup. They get to host the game, but it feels like all of the momentum is with the Hornets on the 9th seed.
Yeah, the momentum part makes it interesting. And I'll be watching to see just how teams are able to make things work with the pace of play they like to play. Like the Magic like to play more slow, be, physical if they can, and then the Hornets like to play fast at times, and we could move it around quickly. So I'll be looking to see just if Orlando is going to be awakened, see if they have the energy, see if they really fight hard for this one, which I think they will. And the team, Jamal Mosley knows what's on the line still, of course, I believe. But they're really going to have to be prepared to have answers stopping LaMelo and Brandon Miller, and seeing if they could let Kadipple have another rough game from free. Be interested to see if the Magic can have any answers on defense to stop those guys.
Yeah, Joey, it'll be interesting to see how this Orlando team comes out. I know going into the game on Wednesday against Philly, we were talking about, like, man, are they going to come into this game just ready to go to Disney World and Universal Studio and just pack it in, be done for this disaster of a season that they have? Or are they going to use this energy that's surrounding their team? It's like, man, literally everyone, like, I feel like every other fan base in the league is rooting for the Charlotte Hornets to win this game. Are the Magic going to actually use that as all right, it's us against the world, let's get this done and give ourselves a shot in round 1?
If Jamal Mosley was smart, he would use that like 100% as motivation. Unfortunately, I think maybe not saying he's not smart. I'm just saying no. I'm not saying that. I am saying I think whatever he says, that entire locker room is not going to listen. I think he has already lost the locker room. Mm-hmm. I think they'll go out and play hard because that's just who the character of this team is, regardless of who's the coach. But they don't want to. If you're the players, you don't want to give up, because even if if Jamal's on his way out, who wants to come in as an incoming head coach, seeing how quickly your team gives up? Like, it's not a good look. So I think they'll play hard and fight like they did against Philly, but unfortunately, I think the Charlotte Hornets move on, and I will be patiently awaiting maybe an hour after that game ends for Jamal Mosley's firing. I just can't wait. I'm gonna throw a party. Like song. Play the song as soon as he gets fired. It's like a win for them.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens. I mean, it's going to be a tough task with this Hornets team that's been playing so well. They got a taste of that postseason environment at home in that electric atmosphere in Charlotte. I'll be interested in seeing how the Magic crowd is, like, because this is a pretty unique scenario. Like, it feels like there's so much negativity surrounding that Orlando Magic team. So I'm interested in seeing how the fans will come out in this game. Like, if they're just ready for this season to be over, if they're just ready to see their head coach get fired, how is that going to play into their favor? I mean, of course, I think the Magic are a great fan base, and they are going to show out for their team and try to give them that, try to give them that home court advantage and try to maybe speed up this young Hornets team, because this will be the Hornets' first opportunity to play in a road postseason environment. So we'll see if that has anything to do with maybe the start of this game. Like, maybe the Magic get off to a hot start, and we need to see if the Hornets can come back here in this win or go home scenario. But I think most people are going to be picking the Hornets in this scenario just because you just feel a lot better about them going into this game, and I would certainly favor them heading into this one.
Yeah, I just don't want to see another 2 for 16 shooting performance from LaMelo Ball. If I see him chuck up another 16 threes and he doesn't have at least 5 of those made, I would stop giving him the ball immediately.
No, listen, I'll tell you what. LaMelo, keep shooting threes, man. Eventually they're going to go in. To me, listen, if Paolo Banchero has another awful shooting game, then we got to have some serious conversations about him. Because one of my favorite moments about doing the recap yesterday was looking at the numbers and seeing, geez Louise, he shot 7 for 22 from the field, 0 for 5 from 3, with 6 turnovers in this game. And as I was reading off those numbers, that sounded quite familiar to their season finale in Boston, where he had the same numbers. So if he does that for the 3rd straight game, they're going to be – I don't even know what's going to happen. He needs to have a big game. He needs to have a huge game to show what he can do for that team. Because right now there are a lot of questions about that team. And with him being the face of that franchise and the #1 pick and on a team that was expected to do big things this season, it's going to come down to what he can do. So he needs to have a big game.
100% correct.
So yeah, Hornets and Magic, 7:30 on Prime to decide the final spot in the East. To decide the final spot in the Western Conference in the 9-8 game, it's the 10-7 matchup between the Golden State Warriors and the Phoenix Suns. Incredible that this is the matchup because, I mean, well, most of us were expecting Clippers-Blazers because everyone picked the Warriors to lose and the Suns to win. But instead, the opposite happened, and now here we are. Ben, what are you going to be watching for in this game? Of course, the Suns coming off the tough loss to Portland on Tuesday, but they get another shot to try to make the playoffs.
Yeah, this will be an interesting one. And I think this game could be a close and good game. I'm excited for this one. But I'm definitely going to be watching to see if Steph can go off again. And I'm thinking he's feeling it right now, and he might be able to just go off again and lead them to a win. That means the Suns, they're going to have to try to keep up offensively. They need to be overall better than what they were there against the Trailblazers to put up more points, I believe, in this game. Devin Booker and Jalen Green are really going to need to show out and have big games. They're going to need to get great games for their guys on the Suns, especially if the Warriors are, or else it could be trouble if it's just like good games but not great games like it was for the Clippers against them. So I'll be watching for that. And also, I just can't wait for Draymond Green versus Dylan Brooks in a win go home game. Oh my, that could get quite chippy.
Halftime entertainment is literally just them in a boxing match.
Yeah, hosted by the Suns gorilla mascot. Oh boy, that would be awesome. I'm excited to see the Dylan Brooks Steph Curry matchup because I mean that's what we should be seeing in this type of game. We should be seeing the best perimeter defender on the Suns go up against this all-time great player in Steph Curry, and seeing what happens here. I mean, I think the question is, for this game, can the Warriors' other guys have the impacts that they were able to have against the Clippers? Because if they're able to get 20 from Porzingis and Santos, along with a takeover from Al Horford and a defensive flashback game from Draymond Green, then they're going to win this game. But if they come back down to reality here in this game, then it's going to be a little more difficult because the Suns have had more success with the guys like Jalen Green. Of course, they're led by Devin Booker, who I'm sure is eager to, take care of business in this game after losing to Portland. Dylan Brooks, Royce O'Neal, hopefully Grayson Allen's back, Colin Gillespie. Like, they just have a lot of different pieces on their team and should have more pieces that they can throw at, like Steph Curry, that the Clippers just didn't have on Wednesday.
100%. If you're Steve Kerr and the Warriors, stick with the same game plan. It obviously worked to absolute perfection. Everybody was hitting. You got prime games out of everybody. Don't change the game plan. If you're the Suns, hopefully Devin Booker shooting a little bit better, and hopefully you can get Colin Gillespie. I know I was looking out for him, and I wanted to see him do more against the Blazers. So look to him get more involved offensively. I would say a lot of those catch and shoots, because he's fantastic at those. They do that, it's going to be one heck of a game. Yeah.
Predictions for this one. This is crazy because I came into this I was not giving the Warriors any chance to win 2 games to get into the playoffs. But I'll tell you what, I feel like they're going to pull something out of their hat again, and Steph Curry's going to have another crazy game. I'm going to pick the Warriors. I think they are going to do it, and for back-to-back years, we're going to see the 10th seed in a conference make the playoffs.
Ben?
This sort of
Dude, this is so tough.
But I'm going to give the Warriors 2.
Oh!
I think Steph Curry, I'm feeling more confident about him, especially after that big game yesterday, and I think he could go crazy again, and Draymond could be feeling on the defensive end, maybe win that fight between him and Dylan Brooks.
Guys, I really want to be the odd man out, but I will not doubt Wardell, Steph, and Curry again.
No way.
Like I said, he could do it for 1 game. I don't think he could do it for 2 games. But after seeing him in that 1 game, I'm like, man, he could probably do it like another 2 to 3 times if he needs to. Like, if you're coming down to a winner-go-home situation, I am fully putting all my chips on the Dynasty Warriors led by Steve Kerr, Steph Curry, and Draymond Green. Like, that is just what I'm doing.
Particularly against a Suns team that has less experience than the Clippers team they faced on Wednesday. Like, I think most people didn't give them a chance because Kawhi has been so amazing. And just to be, Draymond Green has not been, this season. But it flipped around this game, and Draymond was excellent. Curious to see who Draymond Green will be guarding. Maybe he will be guarding Dylan Brooks in this game on that, and Dylan Brooks is guarding Steph. Like, there could be some crazy matchups. The Suns are going to need another crazy game from one of those guys in the backcourt, Jalen Green or Devin Booker. Probably preferably both of them to go for 30 instead of Jalen Green going for 35 and Booker having an inefficient 21. But overall, I mean, the Warriors have the experience. I feel like the Suns, the Suns have had such a good year. It'd be a shame for them to miss the playoffs in this situation. But I don't know, man. Like you said, Joe, I feel like you got to give credit to the Warriors, and you just put your trust in them in these situations.
It's just who I believe in. The Warriors have done us Cavs fans dirty for so long. It's habit that you can't pick against them when they're go home situation.
Yeah, it's happened against a lot of fan bases. Phoenix, you might be next. you might be next. But yeah, man, 2 play-in games here tonight to decide the final spots in the playoffs. In the East again, Hornets at Magic, 7:30 on Prime Video. And then the 10 p.m. game, Warriors at Suns. The winner advances to the 8th seed where they have the incredible pleasure of playing the Oklahoma City Thunder in round 1 of the NBA playoffs. And then it's off to the playoffs. Let's get into it, man. The 2026 NBA playoffs. Let's get into talking about all of these first round matchups that we do know about. We're not going to get into really talking about the 1-8 matchups since we still have those playing games to figure out on here tonight, but on our Instagram page, when those do get figured out, all our series predictions will be posted there. Let's get into it, man. 6 series, all of them interesting in their own ways. Let's start off with the Eastern Conference, and we decided to start off with the 4-5 matchup, the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Toronto Raptors. What a season it's been for both teams. For the Cavs, coming in with so many expectations here this season, ended up struggling to start off with, had to make some big moves at the trade deadline, bringing in James Harden, moving on from Darius Garland, also getting Keon Ellis and Dennis Schroeder, and still integrating their team. They dealt with so many injuries this season, but were able to get the 4th seed in the East at 52-30, while the Raptors, 46-36, 5th seed in the East, first time making the playoffs in 4 years. For this young team, this is what they were hoping to get to, is a chance in the playoffs to make it and get those guys some playoff experience here and see how far they can go. As far as the season series, in the regular season, the Raptors swept the series 3-0 against the Cavs, but all the games were played before Thanksgiving. Lonzo Ball was the starting point guard for 2 of the games, and now he's out of the league. So that, there's really not much you can take away from those games. But certainly an interesting matchup here, Joey. Where do you want to start off with the Cavs and the Raptors?
I'm really excited for this. The Cavs have had a long history with the Raptors over many, many years. I do proud to say I have a LeBronto shirt after they couldn't even get a game on us the entire time LeBron was here the second time. So I love it. I love going against Toronto. Love going to Toronto because we just always win. But I am not as confident as I obviously was back then. This Toronto team is really, really good defensively. And if you give them open shots, they will knock them down. And the problem with the Cavs recently, ever since the trade and All-Star break, we leave a lot of people wide open for threes. And I don't know how it'll be because they're not great offensively, the Raptors, but, you leave them open, they're going to make them. Brandon Ingram has been a baller this year. You don't really want him to get going. And for the Cavs offensively, we really need Evan Mobley to be, the second best player or third best player now because James Harden is here and he is fantastic. But I have always been that Evan Mobley needs to be going offensively and defensively, and we have a really good chance of winning. However, his matchup is Scotty Barnes, the guy who stole Rookie of the Year from him. And Scotty Barnes has been absolutely fantastic defensively this year, like an iron wall.
Yeah, Ben, it feels like this series could very well come down to that matchup at the 4 spot between Evan Mobley and Scotty Barnes. 2 players that both fan bases believe that their guy is better. And this series could very well determine who actually is the better player across the landscape of the league. Because Scotty Barnes has had an incredible year on both ends of the floor. Evan Mobley, Defensive Player of the Year last year, All-NBA guy last year, got off to a little bit of a slow start when maybe he was overcomplicating things offensively a little bit, but he has played very strong this last month of the season. And the Cavs have been playing very strong as well over the second half of the season. So, Ben, what are you going to be watching for with this series?
Well, I'm going to be watching the play between the big guys, between the bigs and the wings on the Cavs and the Raptors, bigs and wings. Joey talked about the defense for the Cavs. Yes, that absolutely needs to be better. And for me, Dean Wade and Jalen Tyson are X factors for the Cavs, especially on that defensive side, because the same goes with Evan Mobley too. Those are the guys we should be putting on to Brandon Ingram and Scotty Barnes, I think, and trying to shut them down. and they can, step up defensively. Those guys turn up the intensity on the defense in these playoffs like we really need them to, which is the right time to do it. Then I think the kids could be quite successful in this first round because it's not that many good options outside of Brandon Ingram and Scotty Barnes for Toronto. And the series also could possibly come down to, I noticed, the Raptors are 15th on offense, Cavs 15th defense. It could come down to just maybe how come down to how it could come down to like who gets even better, what area there. That's what I mean.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how, these two teams play in this situation. Of course, the Cavs under a ton of pressure this season, making the big trade mid-season to bring in James Harden, not having made it out of the second round with this group. Going to be very interested to see if this team is ready to flip the switch on the defensive end, because they do have the capabilities to be a great defensive team with the front court and with the Keon Ellis's and the Dean Wade's, Jalen Tyson's of the world, Dennis Schroeder as well. Are they ready for this moment? And are they ready to finally go on this run that they are capable of going on? And this is going to be very interesting to see how they come out in this series. Game one, incredibly, of this series is going to be the first game of the entire season where Cleveland has their entire rotation healthy. So this is going to be an interesting situation here, Joey, because the coaching staff, like Kenny Atkinson, it doesn't happen a whole lot where you go into the first game of the playoffs and you have your whole team healthy, but you've never had them fully healthy to experiment with the rotations, with the players that are available. And he's got a lot of different pieces that he can use here. So are there any worries that there could be some growing pains as the Cavs try out some different lineups that they hope work maybe in later rounds as well?
I'm very worried about that because I have over this year, but that was also dealing with injuries, but I've been critical of Kenny Atkinson's rotations and who he brings in at certain times and the way he does things. So I'm very worried that there could be some growing pains, but in all honesty, these are good growing pains because at the end of the day, we have never been healthy in the playoffs, and having just this as the start is just – it's something we as Cavs fans have never experienced, let alone Kenny this whole year.
Yeah. On the Raptors side of things, something to watch for on their side is some of the injuries that they are dealing with, particularly to starting point guard Emmanuel Quickley, who's been going through it the last couple of weeks. He was dealing with plantar fasciitis, and then when he came back, immediately strained his right hamstring. So he's not 100%, and that's something that could be very important for the Raptors here because this is a team that, although they have some good young role players that could be X factors in the series, when you take a look at the Jamal Sheds of the world on the defensive end, or Jacoby Walter, who's been great from three-point range and defensively over the second half of the season, their starting five is very important to what they do, and they are a very connected group there in that starting lineup, and all the players for them provide different things that aren't replaceable anywhere else. So if Emmanuel Quickley is not himself this series as a player that is terrific in transition, a speedy point guard that can hit pull-up threes, then this could be very difficult for Toronto. Same thing goes with starting center Jakob Poeltl, who is their only big burly center, but his performance has been diminished this season because of injuries on his end as well. So if those two guys are not at their 100% capabilities and the Cavs are, then it's going to be tough for the Raptors because the Cavs, on paper, have the advantage in the front court when you look at what Evan Mobley and Jarrett Allen have been doing since the James Harden trade.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the bigs with Jakob Poeltl, this is a good match for Evan Mobley and Jarrett Allen, and I hope they can take advantage well and get more confidence here for these playoffs. But I wonder what we're predicting outside of me for this series.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and take a look at our predictions for Cavs-Raptors. I've got all of them here, even Nick, even though he's not here. So for Cavs-Raptors, all of us going with the Cavaliers. I have the Cavs in 6. The other 3 have the Cavs in 5. So a little bit of a shorter series. Joey, why do you end up going with Cleveland in 5 games?
Just because we are healthy. They could get one at home. That's the only kind of thing. I think the Cavs take both of the home games here. Then they go to Toronto in game 3. And honestly, Toronto will probably win that game. They have a great fan base. They have a great crowd always in the playoffs.
And haven't seen a playoff game in 4 years. They're finally back.
Yeah, very notorious for having a very rowdy playoff fan base. And I know they're excited. So purely based off of that, I think they get at least a win. But this should be handily for the Cavs. We've been waiting for this. All our guys are experienced now. All of them have been here, done that, suffered. And this Toronto team, they're just young. They're inexperienced. I think this will treat them a lot. Hopefully they'll take it, unlike Orlando, and build upon it.
Right. Ben, why do you end up going with Cavs in 5?
I'm confident in the Cavs. I'm believing here. I'm a bit worried. Well, the series could go more further to 6 and 7, but I'm guessing it'll be 5 because I believe the Cavs will step it up, play with more intensity on the defensive end, and the Cavs are going to be healthy at least, which is really good. And just hopefully no one gets injured during the series and throughout the playoffs for the Cavs. And I believe that Donovan Mitchell and Harden can have big scoring bursts at times that just gives the Raptors trouble and makes it hard for them to keep up with that.
Yeah, I think that on paper and what should happen is Cavs in 5, but the combination of, I think, Kenny Atkinson recognizing that, all right, there should be a talent gap in this series, and this should be a time where he can afford to try out some different lineups. I think that might cost them an extra game. And also the fact that I just frankly don't think that the Cavs have shown enough in the second half of the season to fully be confident that they can just roll through this series in 5 games. So I'm going Cavs in 6, but they should definitely win this series. And I think that James Harden and Donovan Mitchell, who are 2 guys that, maybe the 2 big poster childs of the league as far as they haven't won yet. They have not gotten where they need to get to for them yet. I think they have definitely been waiting for this time of year, and I think they're going to be ready to take care of business here in round 1.
I just know I do, as a Cavs fan, I know it was a completely different team, but I do not want to see Jameson battle in the game because he has killed us every single time he has gotten into the game.
Indeed. But the 4 of us, 3 of us on the pod, and Nick as well, have the Cavs taking home the series over the Raptors. But should be a hard-fought series because the Raptors are, they're a tough defensive team that definitely can cause problems, forcing turnovers, on the Cavs side of things. Moving on, 3-6 matchup in the Eastern Conference. The New York Knicks and the Atlanta Hawks. Now, this is a series, similar to the Cavs-Raptors one, but we did not think that this is what we were going to be seeing. Of course, the wild finish to the regular season has us with these matchups, but New York taking on Atlanta. New York, kind of a similar year to the Cavs, but they've just been a little more healthy, and a better defensive team. But 3rd seed in the East, 53-29. Meanwhile, the Atlanta Hawks, they're 46-36 as the 6th seed. But you see their 20-6 post All-Star break have been one of the hottest teams in the entire NBA since the Trae Young trade and acquiring Jonathan Kuminga at the trade deadline. And, of course, C.J. McCollum, the emergence of Nickeil Alexander-Walker and Jalen Johnson, big for them as well. Ben, where do you want to start with this Knicks-Hawks series?
Yeah, this should be a fun series. Trae Young, no going back to MSG in this one. Hawks, I would have fought before the year if they made the playoffs. Would have had Trae Young for something like this, but it's different now. But it's great for the Hawks that they're having it work, and I actually have the Alexander Walker to be as an X factor for this game. I know he's a guy who could probably win most improved player. He's really has stepped up and been great this year, but I'm wondering how, his evolution on offense could translate to the postseason here against the tough Knicks team. And if Nikhil Alexander Walker could somehow go off and have some big offensive games and other guys in the Hawks are able to step up and play well, they could make this quite a tough series that could go down to the wire 6 or 7. But Alexander Walker is struggling more. The Hawks somehow are struggling more to generate offense against the Knicks, and the Knicks are finding ways to stop them, and this could be trouble. Shorter series for the Hawks. So yeah.
Joey, what are you seeing with this series that you're going to pay attention to?
I completely forgot about that, Ben, when you said I am kind of going to miss Trae Young and MSG. That is going to be kind of sad. But I'll be honest, this is a really intriguing matchup to me. If I would have to, the Hawks, their game plan this whole second half of the year, they should just keep with that because they are a fun team. They are a really good team defensively, offensively. They can get it going. They have a lot of guys that can get it going. So they need to use that momentum and keep it rolling. New York, I'm really intrigued on how I'm going to see the lineup and who's going to contribute and not, because they have a better bench this year than in years past. So I'm intrigued to see how they're going to use it. But I really need to see someone other than Jalen Brunson step up consistently throughout this series, not just 1 or 2 games here, but every single game. And I really hope it's Karl Anthony Towns, because Knicks fans have been waiting for, NBA fans have been waiting for him to just go off this entire year, but specifically in the playoffs. That's who they need. With Jalen Brunson probably going to be guarded by one of the best perimeter defenders in Dyson Daniels, or even Nikhil Alexander Walker, who's a fantastic defender just as well. They're going to need Cat to step up, regardless if it's also Mikal Bridges, who I know I've been critical of as well. He needs to step up consistently. OG Anunoby's, he is fantastic, but he's also going to need to be a consistent offensive threat this series. And if they do that, New York really shouldn't have a problem, because they have all those guys that can do it. They just need to do it, because Jalen Brunson is going to do Jalen Brunson things, but he is going to have his hands full and be dead dog tired by the time it hits the third or even the fourth quarter, of just trying to carry and do everything with those guys guarding him.
Yeah, this series is very intriguing. Love what you guys have mentioned about both sides here. There are definitely a lot of players that are going to need to step up, because I do believe that both teams here have a chance to win this series. This is not going to be easy whatsoever. I know Knicks fans are not happy because this is the 4th straight year of them making the playoffs where they have the toughest first-round matchup heading into the playoffs. I mean, going into the playoffs every year, when you look at going into the Cavs series in 2023, Sixers in 2024, and last year with the Pistons, and now the Hawks this year, they've had the most difficult first-round matchup on paper every single year, and they have it again. And this might be the toughest one they have to deal with, just because this team has been on fire, lately. But I think what this might come down to is just the experience at the end of close games. When you look at Atlanta with Jalen Johnson being their number 1 guy, this will be his first series as a number 1 guy, as someone that can do it all. He'll have some great games. He might have some rough games, in his, first real playoff experience here. At the end of games, is anyone on Atlanta's team going to be able to match what Jalen Brunson can provide? because I feel regardless of, who's guarding him between Alexander Walker or Dyson Daniels, Jalen Brunson has proven that no matter who you put on him, he is so good. He's going to get his numbers and play phenomenal basketball. He's an incredible playoff basketball player. So can anyone on Atlanta match that? And for that, I look to a guy on their team that has experience in these situations in CJ McCollum, who is still a very good scorer in his own right as well. He needs to have a big series to try to help the Hawks as the adult in that room and on the floor for them to, be able to have the poise in those situations to match what the Knicks are doing. Because the Knicks are, in a similar situation to the Cavs where they're one of the favorites coming into the season, hasn't gone, has the way they expected in the regular season. But this is the time of year they've been waiting for. They're ready to have that business-like mentality and get the job done. Atlanta needs to, try to match that as well.
Completely agree.
So, as far as our predictions for this series, think this could go either way, but we're all going with the Knickerbockers still. The three of us on the podcast have the Knicks in 6. Nick has New York winning in 7 games. So, all of us end up picking New York here. Ben, does it come down to just the overall experience and that, the Knicks have Jalen Brunson on their team leading the way?
Yeah, that was part of why I picked the Knicks. And I believe that it'll be a good series. I think the Hawks could have some good shooting nights and steal a couple games, as I'm predicting. But I just think the Knicks will be even better in the clutch. And the Knicks will get Jalen Johnson, Nickeil Alexander Walker, rattled a few times with their defense when they get intense there, and that's just enough.
Yeah, Joey?
Yeah, I agree, but it mostly does come down to experience. Like I said, it's got to be it all comes down to a lot of the superstars a lot of the times. But like in the Warriors game, all those other guys had really great games, and that's how they won that game. I trust the Knicks other guys more than I trust the Atlanta guys because they have the experience.
Yeah, and I think that's what it comes down to. I mean, game 1's going to be super important. Game 1 in MSG is always a super tough atmosphere for the road team. We saw that last year with Detroit in their first playoff game in, a long time, and they had played great. It felt like they had weathered the storm through the first 3 quarters. Then in the fourth quarter, when it came down to it, New York went on like a 21-0 run right in the fourth quarter, and they took home that game. So I think this will be the 3rd straight first round where New York is going to win on the road in Game 6 off of a game-winning 3, because we've seen that each of the last 2 years with Josh Hart in the Philly series 2 years ago and Brunson last year. We're going to get another one in this series.
Guaranteed.
That's right. There's a bold prediction for the Knicks-Hawks series. Again, all of us picking New York. In my opinion, though, when you look at the Eastern Conference, I think this is the series that is most likely to have an upset because of how well the Hawks have been playing. But all of us end up going with the New York Knicks.
I don't know about that, but I agree. This is a very highly upset potential.
All right. Well, let's move on to the 2-7 matchup between the Boston Celtics and the Philadelphia 76ers. After all this time this season, we end up getting this historic matchup once again in the postseason. Of course, Boston's season's been well documented, what they were able to do without Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown leading the way, and all the young role players stepping up, and then Jason Tatum coming back for them to become the 2nd seed in the East, while the 76ers make it back into the playoffs after missing out last year with all their injuries. Once again dealt with major injuries this season. They're still dealing with it now with no Joel Embiid here, at least to start this series. But, had that impressive victory in the play-in against Orlando Wednesday, where we talked about it earlier. Just have a lot of different players that can get the job done on that team. So, Joey, what are you looking for here in Celtics Sixers?
I'll be honest, not a whole lot. The Boston Celtics, we know who they are. If Tatum can be efficient scoring wise, they're unstoppable. Because Jaylen Brown, the year he's had, and Jason Tatum, ever since he's come back, even though he hasn't been as efficient, he is still fantastic. The system Joe Mazzulla has in place is fantastic. They have the depth. The other guys are all knockdown shooters, so you can't even double Brown or Tatum, because then they'll find the other guy and they'll just knock him down. Like Derek White, I would say, is kind of an X factor, though, if you have to pick one on this team, just because he is a guy who hasn't really been playing up to his standard. But if he does, it's honestly wraps for probably the rest of the Eastern Conference. If he gets back to playing the way he was last year or the year before that, like, if he does that, it's no telling. And on the Sixers side, maybe try to steal a game, play your hearts out, but in my opinion, they don't stand a chance if they don't have Joel Embiid, because that Celtics team matches up really well with the Sixers team without Joel Embiid, and that's where the Sixers would have their one huge advantage, and that's an MVP type of an advantage. That is a series-changing advantage. But if you don't have them, unfortunately, I don't see it for the Sixers.
Yeah, Ben, what do you think about this series?
I like that X Factor pick a lot by Joey, but I think the Celtics match up really well there. I think the Celtics could get the better play from their wings and then their big guys, and that'll make a big difference, and they're healthy, which is really good going into the playoffs. But yeah, it's going to be hard for the 76ers, but we did see the 76ers beat them a few times earlier in the year, and Maxey and Edgecombe had big games against them, so the 76ers could possibly make it a bit interesting if those guys have any big games at some point throughout the series.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Sixers have a decent shot in the series if they can get Embiid back. I really like their team. I think they are still a super deep team at every single position. Maxey and Edgecombe in the backcourt have been great. I'm excited to see how VJ Edgecombe plays in his first playoff series. Of course, Paul George, always a big X factor as someone that can still have big games, and they're going to need it in this series. Kelly Oubre's been good. And then Andre Drummond as a backup big is going to have to be able to match what KADE does. Same thing with Adembona. Like, they have players that can make this interesting, I think. It's going to come down to, can the Celtics get the three-point shots going and have a bunch of crazy games from three from their role players? Because they're young role players. When you look at Baylor Shireman, like Hugo Gonzalez, Jordan Walsh, like the guys that have played for them have been great from three. It's been the guys that are taking the high volume of them, like Tatum, White, and Brown, that haven't really been knocking them down at the highest percentage. And I love the Derek White X Factor thing because, he's had a pretty brutal year shooting the ball. So they're going to need him offensively to get it going, because if, he's also going to be the guy guarding Tyrese Maxey, so he's going to be the guy to try to stop him as well. So I like that as an X factor. Boston does have a very, very good team, but I do think there are still some questions with their young players playing in their first playoff game. So I give the Sixers a little bit of a chance in the series, but we all do end up going with Boston. Ben and Nick have it as a sweep. Celtics in 4, Joey with the Celtics in 5. I'm giving the Sixers a couple of games in this series, but all of us do indeed go with the Boston Celtics.
Ben, not even a game for the Sixers?
Yeah, I was shocked by this.
Well, I just think that Embiid, he won't come back on time, if I'm guessing. And I just like the Celtics team a lot right now. Like, I know 76 beat them a few times earlier the year, and I mean, I wouldn't be surprised though they took one. I'm just thinking, man, the Celtics have just been so good recently, and I just believe still some of these young role players stepping up and playing well alongside with Jaylen Brown continuing to be a superstar and Tatum playing well. And they're just tougher, better team. I'm really confident in Boston going into the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, the series is going to come down to if Joel Embiid can be back. He's already basically ruled out for games 1 and 2. Game 3 in Philly will be big, and the Sixers need to try to steal one of the 2 games in Boston, which can be possible because we do know Boston to be a hot and cold team from 3. And if they're cold from 3, Sixers definitely have an opening to try to steal a couple of games. But we all go with the Boston Celtics. Let's move over to the Western Conference and start off with the 4-5 matchup over there with the Lakers and the Rockets. Now, of course, you see the numbers. Lakers, a terrific season, offensively, struggled defensively, led by Luka Doncic, LeBron James, and Austin Reeves. The Rockets getting the 5th seed, up and down for them, but finished top 8 in both offense and defense as the 5th seed. But, of course, the big thing with this series, no Luka Doncic, no Austin Reeves to begin things for the Lakers after both suffering injuries a couple weeks ago in Oklahoma City here. So, going to be a very tough job here for the Lakers without their 2 leading scorers. But, Joey, the NBA blessed them with an incredibly faithful schedule, with them having Game 1 on Saturday night, Game 2 not until Tuesday, and Game 3 not until Friday. So by the time Game 3 comes around, that's 3 weeks in between that Thunder game where those guys got injured and a chance for them to return here. So what are you going to be looking for in this series, Joey?
I didn't even realize it's that bad. Oh, my gosh. They're really just – they can't have a playoffs if the Lakers don't have all their stars healthy. Like, Adam Silver is foaming at the mouth with how it ended up this way. But he's doing everything he can to make sure it's right by his precious LA team. But it's going to be a tough battle for this Lakers team. My goodness. They can do it. I'm not discounting that because you have LeBron James, and if you do happen to get Luka, or if you happen to get Luka, I don't think A. Reeves will make it no matter what. But if you happen to get Luka by game 3 or 4 or something like that, you have a really good chance. But I don't know. I think this Rockets team is too good. I'm very critical of their offense, but luckily the Lakers are a terrible defensive team. Maybe that's better with Luka out, but who knows? It might be. So that could be a way for them to win. The Lakers really need to muck it up. But the Rockets, man, Kevin Durant is unstoppable at times. If Sengun is going, that's a real advantage there. If some of their other guys are going, like if Eason gets going, or Smith or Shepherd, or even Thompson, if he gets a couple steals or blocks and then gets a couple easy fast break points, it might be toast. Like those guys, Thompson can get going really quick, a couple threes for Reed and it's over. Those guys are real hot and cold, but when they get hot, it makes a huge difference.
Yeah, Ben, of course, tough task for the Lakers here. Sure, we all got the Rockets here winning the series, but, of course, there is always that, possibility that the Lakers could get, some of those guys back later in the series here. But there's no question that if they're going to have a chance in this series, they need to win one of the first 2 home games in LA to have a chance in this series. So, Ben, how do the Lakers get one of these first 2 games in LA?
Well, they're going to have to at least be close in the game, and LeBron's going to have to, try to, carry the team sometimes and have a big scoring outing. But really, in the series, it's really going to come down to how these role players step up for the Lakers to see if they can help give them any chance. Like Luke Kennard and Jake Moravia's going to have to step up with a good scoring potentially. But a big difference I noticed in one specific category with these teams going into this game, you guys might know it, but it's rebounding. The Rockets, I saw, were first in team rebounding in the league, while the Lakers were towards the bottom of the league, which that's going to be tough on the Lakers with Eden, Hayes, and the Rockets front court like being bigger than them. But I've heard the Lakers are really preaching the rebounding. That's what they're really working on in practice. So I'll be interested to see if that can work at all the game. But that's going to be a big, tall task for them. And that's a big advantage on why I think the Rockets could do well in this series.
Yeah, that's definitely going to be something huge here. The Lakers, they're going to need a throwback series from LeBron. I mean, the game plan for them offensively is just LeBron, on a floor spaced with a bunch of other shooters, getting to the basket, getting to the free throw line, and getting it to his shooters to try to knock down shot. That's going to be their chance in this series, is those other guys having the series of their life in this series, because they're going to need to have that, or maybe not just the series, but some of these guys need to have some big games in this series to have a chance here. But we know, Joey, that the Rockets are not a perfect team here. They have struggled in fourth quarters and in clutch situations, but this is an incredible opportunity for them to get a playoff series win for the first time with this group together. So, Joey, how do the Rockets make sure that they don't let go of this opportunity?
They got to stay composed. They even though, it was great for them to be the 2 seed. Even though it's most of the same team, your real veteran here is Kevin Durant. And he's going to lead you, and he needs to lead you. He needs to lead. Like, these guys, like we've seen all year, with, like you mentioned, the clutch time, it's gotten rough. He's the only one they go to. He's the only – nobody else. I've seen a bunch of games sporadically throughout the year. A lot of the games, when it comes down to clutch time, the only one who's, like, willing to shoot, who wants to shoot, is Kevin Durant. They're going to need to go to somebody else, because eventually I would think J.J. Redick and the Lakers are smart enough to, hey, clutch time, double, triple team Kevin Durant, because that's their only offense down in the stretch. That's the only guy they look for. But
listen, if the Rockets' best players play to their capabilities, this isn't going to be close. This is not going to be close. Şengün, DeAndre Ayton needs to have a good series on both ends against Alperen Şengün. Amen Thompson, depending on who he defends, like if he might be the one guarding LeBron James. Maybe they go with Jabari Smith. If that's the case, and Amen Thompson is guarding Marcus Smart or Luke Kennard, then he needs to just completely obliterate that matchup. Because if that happens and it's only LeBron, and LeBron is the only player that can handle the basketball comfortably against this athletic Rockets defense, they're not going to have a chance in this series, if those guys can't come back. So let's get into our predictions here, and, make sense with all the injuries. All of us going with the – oh, wait a minute.
What?
Nick.
What?
Mm-hmm.
Nick!
This is interesting. Okay. This
Where are you?
Yep.
Wake up.
Yeah, Nick going with the Lakers in 7. Have to imagine that he believes that the Lakers guys are going to be back by, the middle of the series.
If they do, I fully get why he picked them. Like I said, if they win one of those first 2 games and LUKA comes back in game 3 or 4, Nick's prediction is a very realistic possibility. Unfortunately, I just don't see the Lakers doing that.
Yeah, to me, honestly, even if those guys come back now, again, I have the Rockets in 6, Joey in 5, Ben back-to-back sweeps here, going with the Rockets in 4. I even think that if they were to get Luka or Reeves back, and or like, that's still an incredibly tough situation for those guys to come back in the middle of a series, having missed 3 weeks, having to come back into most likely a do or die playoff scenario where they're probably either down 2-1 or down 3-1 or down 3-0, down 2-0, like in a tough atmosphere there. Even if they come back, I think it'll be tough for them to overcome it. But I do give them credit because they do have the pieces that could go off. And I would think that LeBron has a couple games in him. Will it be enough? You know, we'll see. But overall, again, the Rockets, if their best players play to their capabilities, it should end, just like Ben and Joey say, right in 4 or 5 games, quick as heck, and over just like that. But if they allow the Lakers to hang around a little bit, then Lakers may not be over for them.
Yeah, I need to see DeAndre Ayton outperform Clint Capella after the comments he made earlier this year, and now you have a 7-game series about it. If you don't, and Clint Capella outperforms you, you are never going to live that down, and good luck finding a basketball job in the NBA next year.
That is a great point. I completely forgot about that whole thing. That's incredible. So yeah, Lakers Rockets 4-5. We'll see. It comes down to if the Lakers guys can come back and be healthy, but the Rockets, a golden opportunity here to win a playoff series. Moving to the 3-6 matchup. Playoff rivalry renewed with potentially, I mean, I don't even think it's a question. This is the series to watch here in the first round between the Denver Nuggets at the 3 seed and the Minnesota Timberwolves at the 6 seed. Denver, who, you know, at times had a bit of a shaky season after missing Nikola Jokic in the middle of the season, getting him back, struggling mightily defensively. You see they're 21st defensively, but the best offense in the NBA, and they won their final 12 games of the regular season against a Minnesota team that was definitely inconsistent throughout, had some perplexing losses, some impressive victories, but seem like, you know, they've made the conference finals each of the last 2 years, and it feels like they've just been waiting to get into this playoff moment once again here. And these teams have history. 2024 Western Conference semifinals, 7-game series, which Minnesota upset the then defending champion Denver Nuggets. So, Ben, very interesting series we have here between these two teams. Where do you want to start?
Yeah, I can't wait for this one. This is going to be an electric matchup. And trying to think here where I want to start. But I can't wait to see how Anthony Edwards shows up in this one. Like, I think he's going to come here hungry, ready to go as usual. As he just said, like, I wish he could have been in the awards thing, but he's just hungry, trying to win a championship is what he said was the main thing. So, you know, Anthony Edwards, the main thing for him is he's just got to stay composed, and hopefully it's a big games, you know, to keep the Timberwolves in a close one, and then they could possibly have a chance. But also, the battle of the bigs, I think, will be interesting because we've seen before Rudy Gobert and Naz Reid match up good against the Nuggets down the front court, and I'm wondering if that could continue well this year. But, of course, when you face Nikola Jokic, one of the best players in the world, it's a huge task. But I'm wondering still if Gobert will have some times where he plays great defense and Naz Reid is in there stepping up off the bench, doing some good things off that bench to give the Nuggets trouble too down in the front court. And I'm wondering if that can make the Timberwolves, you know, steal some games, and maybe even that's enough to potentially win it. But we'll have to see.
Yeah, Joey. I mean, this an incredible matchup here. I think most people would agree that Denver has the more talented team, but Minnesota has played them so well over the years. And again, they've gone deep in the playoffs each of the last 2 years.
That's the thing. You look at this on paper, it's this Nuggets team should clear them in 4 or 5 games max. But you could have said the same thing about these two teams the last 2 to 3 years. And every single year, it is just a fantastic series that goes almost the full length every time. And it's always Timberwolves that just come out and upset. They're just always play to these moments. It's like Ben said, I love watching Ant Edwards in this series. I can't wait to watch him. He said it himself because someone asked, "Oh, are you excited for this rivalry between the Timberwolves and Nuggets?" He's like, "It's really a rivalry between me and them." He's like, "I'm tired of them." I'm really excited to see how Ant Edwards plays against them because he always does fantastic. But they're gonna need him. This is not as talented a team nearly as Denver, and they're really going to need their superstar to just completely take over. On the Denver side, don't take this team lightly because they are hard workers. They are motivated. They love being the underdog. It's like their mentality. And Edwards loves being that. He's going to get his team ready, and they have the experience. They really do. Like, as much as we talk about a lot of those Eastern teams, like, maybe like the 360, like the Hawks, they don't might have the experience. This Timberwolves, as a 6 seed, have the experience. All these guys have been in the playoffs before, won series before. They know what it takes. Denver, don't take it lightly, but that 3-headed monster of Murray, Jokic, and Gordon, who had a fantastic playoffs last year, hopefully he can do something similar this year. Jamal's been an all-star finally. Like, he's having Jokic is still the best player on the planet, probably. Like, you need those guys, but I'm looking at an X factor in Tim Hardaway Jr., who is probably up there for 6th man of the year. Maybe not one of the finals, but like he should be. Like, he's been so good this year. And talking about the lack of depth possibly for Minnesota, Denver really needs to utilize to keep their guys fresh and utilize their bench. And Tim Hardaway being a spark off the bench is going to be huge.
Yeah, totally agree. I'm looking at both teams here to see what they're going to bring on both ends of the floor. I remember back to that series a couple of years ago that the Wolves won in 7 games, where particularly in Game 7 of that series, Jokic and Murray both had incredible games offensively. They both scored like 34, 35 points, but no one else got it going. And their role players are going to need to knock down shots like they have all season. When you look at Aaron Gordon, Tim Hardaway, Cam Johnson, Christian Brown, they need to have their impact and imprint on this series. And I think one of the key things to look at in this series, Denver, of course, the number 1 offense in the NBA this year, but Minnesota, a very good defensive team as well. So most likely they're going to have some chances to slow the Denver offense down a little bit, which means that Denver is going to need to find some spurts where they become a better defensive team than they were in the regular season, because flat out the things they were doing this regular season defensively, unacceptable. I believe the lowest defensive rating of any playoff team. So they're going to need to find a way to get stops at the end of games, throughout games, and not give up a bunch of runs here. Because, yes, they have the star power where they could, get back into games if they're down by double digits. We see it all the time in the NBA. But against a good defensive Minnesota team, Denver's going to need to find ways to get stops on that end of the floor as well to try to mediate it as well. And on the Wolves side, they're going to need to focus for an entire series. I feel like sometimes they lose that, attention, in different games that they may not care as much about here. Obviously, they're going to care, a lot about this series, against Denver, a playoff rivalry, wanting to get back to the conference finals this year, if not even further. But they're going to need to focus on stopping this best offense in the NBA for an entire series. So I'm excited to see if the Wolves can do that.
Yeah, you kind of said it perfectly, but the way I would say is, well, each team has to play a full 48 minutes. No time off. You got to be focused 100% of the time because each team can take advantage in a matter of a second of lapse judgment.
Yeah. I think when you look at X factors, I think it's just a combination thing. Like overall, when this series is over, and if we were to rank all the players in this series, who's going to be the third best player for each team in this series? When you look at the Nuggets, you know Jokic is going to do his thing. Jamal Murray's had an incredible season. You'd expect him to be very good. And on the Wolves side, you know Anthony Edwards is going to bring it. And since going to Minnesota, Julius Randle has been a pretty reliable secondary player for them. So who's that third guy going to be here? And which team has that third guy that's going to provide it? Is it going to be Aaron Gordon for Denver, or is it going to be Jaden McDaniels for Minnesota, who's had a good offensive year and is already a good defender? Is it Rudy Gobert, who's had some, a terrific defensive player, had a great bounce back year this year? Nasri DiVincenzo, or is it Aaron Gordon, Cam Johnson, Christian Brown? Like, who is that going to be? Who is that going to be? I think that is where you're going to look at, to determine who's going to end up winning this series. But overall, looking at who we have winning, once again, we all agree, all of us going with the Denver Nuggets. Ben and I with the Nuggets in 6, Joey with the Nuggets in 7, and Nick thinks this is going to be a quick one with the Nuggets in 5. Joey, why you have the Nuggets in 7?
Mostly just because, probably, again, on paper, you're looking at it, Nick's right, Nuggets in 5. That's what I would usually say. But over the eye test over the last couple of years and how these two teams play against each other, I'm thinking a 7-game series, and I'm hoping for a 7-game series. It is just super fun. I'm ready for it. I think both teams are just going to play hard fought the entire time, and I think you're going to see the stars on display. And I hope it goes 7. I just really do.
Yeah, would certainly be a lot of fun. Ben, Nuggets in 6. What are your thoughts?
I think going into this playoffs for Denver, Aaron Gordon is my biggest X factor for them because he plays great defense, is locking up the opposing team's best scorer while Denver's still playing some pretty good offense, hopefully. Then I think, this Denver team could look like a contender out there, and of course it'll be something I start watching for in the series. And I would love it to go to 7-2. But I think Jokic can have big games along with Jamal Murray, and it's just, more so the better scoring duo that Denver, I believe, is going to have in this series between him and Murray. With them having big games, it's going to be enough to lift them, and they'll figure out how to deal with the Timberwolves bigs better this time around.
Yeah, overall, I just think Denver is the better team, and I think they're just going to get the job done. I mean, I think that they are going to be able to get the job done. And Minnesota, my philosophy, I mean, they're obviously capable of upsetting and winning this series. We've seen them do it against Denver before, but for me, seeing Denver each of the last few years, like the last 2 years, end up as the 6th seed, like this year and last year, and then, the year before making it as the 3 seed, but upsetting Denver. I don't see a world where a team ends up in 6th back-to-back years and ends up going far in the playoffs back-to-back years. Like, I feel like that'd be crazy, and you just don't see it happen a whole lot. So for that, I think that Minnesota is going to lose in the first round here. It's crazy that one of those teams is going to go out this early in the playoffs, but I think Minnesota does have some roster decisions that they need to address this offseason, and I think that we'll end up seeing that here.
Now on to the most anticipated series of all.
2-7 in the West, the Spurs and the Trail Blazers, two teams that have not made it to the playoffs in quite a long time here. The Spurs, their first appearance since 2019. The Trail Blazers getting in for the first time since 2021 after that incredible win in Phoenix the other night. And them being the 7th seed is just incredible. But for the Spurs, of course, all eyes are going to be on Victor Wembanyama making his first playoff appearance of many here throughout what could definitely be a generational career here. And this is going to be a lot of fun, Joey, to see what this guy does finally in postseason action.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. I love the Blazers. Been a big fan of them all year, but all eyes are on the Spurs. I'm sorry. It's just what it is. Wembanyama, Stephen Castle, Area 51, De'Aaron Fox, Dylan Harper. They literally just got all the kind of guys you want to watch on a primetime game in the playoffs. Like, this is the kind of team, a team that they don't really have any weaknesses. The closest team we have, I would say, to the defending champs in the OKC Thunder. So I'm just ready to get it started. It's been a while for the Spurs. They have a very historic and wonderful history in the playoffs and in the NBA in generally. So them getting back to how they used to have the dynasty and maybe starting a new one, this would certainly be the first step. But you got to play the game. You got, like we were talking, they got to play all 48 minutes in the Timberwolves Nuggets series. This Trailblazers team, as we saw in that play-in game, you do not count them out. They will play to the very last breath. They will play to the very last second, and they have the confidence, and they will have the confidence that they can beat you. So do not take them lightly. Deni Avdija is the superstar if you're not Victor Wembanyama, in my opinion. As good players as the Spurs has, and I named them all, Deni Avdija is probably the second best player, and you're probably going to see it firsthand.
Yeah, Ben, just going to be exciting to see the Spurs back in the playoffs here for the first time in a while. Crazy that I believe this was the longest playoff drought in the Western Conference. The Spurs we're talking about, but now they're finally back here, and I'm just excited to see how they handle this moment here. It's an interesting year for them getting to this point. This is going to be most likely the only year of this run here where there's not really a whole lot of pressure on the Spurs here when you think about it, because this is their first time in the playoffs, so they're not expected to go all the way and win the title, which they probably will be in future years. So I'm excited to see them come out and handle the moment, and their fans to just be loose there, because it's already kind of been a successful season here, and they can just kind of play a little bit freely. But this is certainly a good start for them playing the Blazers in the first round.
Yeah, I think that's a great first matchup that they got to help them settle into the postseason environment, as the Blazers are another young team too, not a whole lot of experience across their roster in the postseason. But there's some fun matchups though. I'm excited to watch for this. Even though it's only a 2-7 game, like we got the number 1 and number 2 picks of the 2023 draft. Portland has scoop, but obviously Victor Wembanyama was number 1 in that draft. He's definitely the better player, but it's still cool to see them competing. And they wanted to play before they got to the NBA, and really had a great duel in that game between each other back when Scoop was in the G League Unite, and then also UConn teammates Steph Castle, Donovan Clingan going to be going at it hard, playing the waves. They started learning about playing hard and they know how to win in big environments too from, UConn, Dan Hurley. So I'm excited for these, kind of fun matchups not a whole lot of people are talking about.
Yeah, definitely would agree there. That's going to be fun to see, those different, rivalries and former teammates match up there. Of course, the Spurs way more talented, the clear favorites in this series. And they are going to take this series. There's no question about it in this first round. They definitely should take this series. But Portland does have enough to at least rough up the Spurs and make them earn it. Like you were talking about, Joey, they're going to play the full 48 minutes. They are littered with tough defenders on the perimeter and on the interior. The thing to watch for, of course, is Victor Wembanyama's first playoff test at least offensively, is he's going to have to deal with two very good defensive bigs in Donovan Clingan and Robert Williams. Now, Clingan, I feel like is someone who he feels like a prime candidate that could just have to deal with foul trouble in his first playoff series. He could easily get played off the floor in this series against Victor Wembanyama. But the key here is going to be for Portland to have a chance here. Try to get Victor Wembanyama out of the paint as best as you can by switching him on to one of your perimeter guys so that the driving lanes open up for Deni Avdija to get to the rim and get to the free throw line where he does his most damage. The rim protection of the Spurs and what we saw on Tuesday against the Suns going to be quite different. So it's going to be a challenge for Deni Avdija in his first playoff series as a number one guy, to get going as well. So, the keys there. Get Wemby out of the paint, and can Clingan stay on the floor without getting into foul trouble?
100%. Now, do any of us actually have them taking a game?
Yes. Ben has the sweep. Joey and I have the Spurs in 5. Nick has the Spurs in 6. Very interesting. So I do give the Blazers a game here. I do think that, the Spurs are an incredible team, but this is their first rodeo in the playoffs, and I do not think they are a perfect team by any means. They, as far as their guards go, when you look at De'Aaron Fox, Stephon Castle, even Dylan Harper, and, coming in his rookie season, not very good three-point shooters. They more so operate in the mid-range, which is, what the Blazers try to force you into, of course, is mid-range shots. But there might be a game where, kind of like we saw on Tuesday in Phoenix, where Portland, they fire up a lot of threes. If they have a game where they're all going down and the Spurs just aren't getting it going, they just don't have the juice because this is their first playoff series. And sometimes things just don't go your way. I think that'll happen one time to them in this series. And again, I think the Blazers are going to make them earn it. I don't think there will be a whole lot of blowouts in this series. It'll be the fake blowouts that end up in like 10, 12, 13-point wins, I feel like, maybe besides game 1. But I do think that San Antonio is going to handle the series. But I think that point of the Blazers having enough to rough up the Spurs is going to be important because it reminds me of a 2-7 matchup that we saw in the East last year between the Boston Celtics and the Orlando Magic, back when the Magic were actually defending pretty well. They made the Celtics earn that series. No one was picking the Magic to win the series, and it did end in 5 games. But the Magic, made the Celtics earn it. There was some tough physical play in that series, and it got the Celtics banged up a little bit heading into a second-round date with the New York Knicks that they eventually lost, and some of that was because of injury. So if Portland can do the same thing to the Spurs when the Spurs are trying to get out of this series to eventually play either the Nuggets or the Timberwolves, that's going to be huge here. The Spurs need to make sure that they can survive this series so they can be ready for round 2 where they're going to really be tested in the playoffs.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think Portland can definitely take a game just based off of purely what we saw in that Phoenix game where they came back, they played scrappy defense. Deni Avdija can look unstoppable at times, and like you said, Portland's making their shots. The 3-pointers are going in. If that happens, it's not that hard to do, I don't think, as Portland. They have a really good game plan in doing that, so they could easily take a game. But again, the Spurs team has just been too good, too consistent all year.
Yeah, and very hot the second half of the year. I mean, they've lost 4 games since the All-Star break. And again, like we mentioned on the last pod, 3 of them came to Denver. So they've basically been unbeatable the second half of the series. But, we'll see what happens here. Ben, you go with the Spurs in a sweep here. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think the Spurs, I'm just confident in them too going into this playoffs. I know they're young, a first playoff experience for guys on the team, of course, but man, they just have been playing such good basketball on both ends. And I even not that long ago was watching their game a bit against the Trailblazers. One of the Blazers were healthy, but they still played well, the Spurs, when they didn't have Castle and Wemby. Still won the games. It was part of my thinking that on why I went with a sweep. I'm just like, man, Portland's a good defensive team that will not make it easy on the Spurs, but I just think like the Spurs are just gonna be getting it rolling often on offense and finding ways, to just get enough to work to get the more points and get out of it quickly. But I mean, the Blazers take a game at home. I mean, still wouldn't surprise me if it was 5-eater.
Yeah, definitely fair. I wouldn't be surprised if this was a sweep as well, because the Spurs have just been that good. But those are all of our predictions for the first round, at least. Of course, we still have our 1-8 matchups as well when we figure out the results of those playing games. That are coming on here tonight. Again, Hornets-Magic, 7:30 on Prime here tonight. Winner advances to play Detroit in round 1. Loser is eliminated. Same thing goes in the West. The winner between Golden State and Phoenix will play against Oklahoma City, 10 p.m. on Prime.
I know we're not giving our predictions for the 1-8 series, but do we think, realistically, either of those Western Conference teams take a game on OKC? Because I certainly don't.
I
know Ben gave a lot of sweeps in the first round predictions. I didn't give any, but that would probably be my first sweep. Whoever has to play OKC, you're getting swept.
The thing is, like, again, with the Warriors, you can never count them out for one game because they have Steph Curry, for one game. And the Suns have played the Thunder well. Like, they have a pretty good defensive game plan, but it would be tough seeing them pick up a game. I mean, at the max, that goes 5 games.
Max.
Eastern Conference will be quite interesting if the Hornets, if we do get that Hornets-Pistons first round. I know if the Magic were to somehow win that game, that's a 5-game series, I think. If that.
Week and a half of a job.
Correct.
Right.
But if the Hornets win, you never know. I mean, the Pistons have had the Hornets number throughout this season, and there could be some scuffles. I would pick Detroit to win that series, but we'll get into those full predictions when we figure out those matchups. But that is it for us here. Thanks again for sticking with us on another long podcast. But again, it's one of the best ones of the season, going over all these series and all these huge games. It's the best time of year. It's been the best week of the year with these incredible playing games, and the playoffs begin tomorrow. Cannot wait. Make sure you stay tuned for all the action here on the Runnin the Paint podcast. You guys have anything else before we get out of here?
Let them know. Let's go, Cavs. Come on, guys. It's the playoffs. We got this.
That's right. It's finally time. Hopefully it's let them know and not we the North by the time we get back here for the next episode. But thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed, leave a like, subscribe for more NBA playoff content. Hope you have a great rest of your day, and we'll catch you in the next one.
Peace.